I'm Minnie Scott, founder of Widows World, and welcome today to our podcast, Widows Talk. Our guest today is Kathleen Dew. Kathleen is a speaker, author, and you and your husband do seminars and workshops for a ministry called Dunamis. Is that correct?
Dunamis.
Dunamis, which means power. I learned that yesterday.
Yes, the Greek word is D-U-N-A-M-I-S, but we use our last name D-E-W and make it D-E-W-A-M-I-S.
Well, you were married to Michael for how many years?
Just short of 44.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So Kathleen has willingly come and will share with us some of the barriers and the concerns that you have when you first became a widow. What do you think was your greatest hurdle that you had to face after Michael's death?
You know, you think about all the hurdles. It's hard to know exactly which one to capitalize because I walked out of the hospital all by myself.
Yeah.
And because of the financial drain with his sickness, I had no home. I had a car, and I didn't even really have too much of a bank account. So it was like, okay, where am I going to live? How am I going to support myself financially? I had done a lot of different jobs, but had been very preoccupied with his health over the last few years. And then you think about the emotional part of your children and your grandchildren, and there's just a lot of parts of what you wonder could happen, and I'm just so grateful for my faith because that made all the difference in the world.
Certainly did for me.
Yes, absolutely.
And so many people become very lonely. And one of the things that as I walk through that, you feel like sometimes you're abandoned. I mean, where did they go? You know, you had these relationships with friends for years. And I think that they're just they don't know how to be around you to make you feel comfortable. They're not comfortable. So how did you confront that with friends? Were you the one that initiated that you reached out to?
Yes. I was in a position where I had single friends, I had married friends, and I much of the time reached out to them. And sometimes they reached out to me. It is true that people talk about how you feel at times you're the third wheel or the fifth wheel, but I think a lot of it has to do with your own filters, you know, how you're perceiving your life. You very much help others either feel uncomfortable or comfortable.
I think that's so true. The other part for me was continuing to move forward. And that's not always an easy thing when you're a single person. But like you, I had my church and my faith, and that's who stood behind me and getting involved with the youth group and with this and with that. And that was a door opener. But you have to be willing to step out and do it.
Yes. D-E-W. Just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, going back to Michael, what was the thing that you remember most, probably the most important thing about your marriage, and that you carry with you, your warm memories that you have?
Mike and I had a very long history with each other. We met at a Lutheran church in La Jolla when I was 6 and he was 10. And I fell madly in love with him at 6 years old. And then his family moved away and I didn't see him for years. And I actually had come through a divorce when my mom and his mom met at a mall unexpectedly. And Mom said, "You'll never guess who I saw today, and you'll never guess who's single." And the moms got us together, and we started dating. And so that background was amazing for us. We traveled through a lot of difficulties. Michael was an illustrious man who actually worked for the President of the United States and the Vice President, and had a winning personality and a beautiful singing voice. But he was like a computer ready to crash. And I didn't know until we got married, and it was very scary. But everything we went through, a lot of storms, brought us so close. And God was so faithful. I mean, I cried out, "God, I've gone through one divorce. I don't want to go through another. You, God, have to change this man." And then, of course, you know,
Had
years
nothing to
later,
do with you changing, right?
years later, I realized, wow, you know, it's like that finger you point with 4 fingers pointing back to you. I changed a lot.
Sure.
And Michael changed a lot. And
you went through some real heartaches too, with the loss of a child.
yeah, I mean, my 2 sons from a previous marriage, Michael had, you know, adopted as his own. Of course, they still had their living father, but Mike became a wonderful stepdad. And then when it came time for us to have our own baby, our baby died at birth. And that was a really tough one.
Can't even imagine.
But you know what?
It either makes or breaks you.
It's so true. Because if I hadn't gone through that real gut-wrenching, hard grief of losing a baby, I wouldn't have been so prepared to lose Michael. I cultivated that space in my heart to really make room for a God that I believed had a plan. As a result of that, I gained a lot of strength through the many hardships that Michael and I went through. And you know, it's interesting, my son Jamie said to me after Michael had passed away a few years later, he said, "Mom, do you feel ripped off?" I said, "Wow, honey, why would you ask me that?" He said, "Because you poured your life out in helping Dad to really become the man that he became towards the end of his life. And then he was sick, and then he was gone. Do you feel gypped?" And I just looked at my son and I said, "You know what? No, I am so grateful for everything we went through together and how that changed Mike, and I would not be the same person that I am."
Out of that, it also taught you how to move forward. And that is one of our key focuses for widows. You can't get stuck in the mud.
No.
You know, and grief is different for every person. There's no magic formula. You know, there's no timeline that's right. It's you and how you process it. And so part of our goal and our mission is to help people, you know, help widows move forward. How would you describe how you were able to do that?
Well, again, you know, I think back even to Patrick, the baby that we lost. I remember how hard it was to go to the grocery store and go down the aisle where there was baby food, or go to a store where there were Pampers or whatever, you know. And it's a matter of just believing, I'm going to get through this. God's with me. I've got my family. I've got friends who love me. And even though this really is painful and it hurts, and I don't know what it looks like on the other side, I'm going to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And it was the same with, after Mike passed away, I ended up moving. I moved to Orange County, your happy neck of the woods. I lived in the Corona Del Mar area and Newport Beach area and Balboa Island, and it was a matter of opening up and just believing there's more for me.
The possibilities are there.
All the possibilities.
And I think sometimes we lose sight of that.
Yeah.
There are always possibilities.
There are.
And that becomes in a choice.
Yes.
You know, you can stay stuck,
yes,
or you can move forward.
That's so true. You know, staying at home in your pajamas or not expecting to meet new people or not expecting to have fun again, you can become so isolated. Yeah. But I had a wonderful grandma. She passed away just before her 100th birthday.
Oh, I love it.
She was glamorous. She owned clothing stores in La Jolla. And she used to tell me, honey, no matter what your day is going to look like, you get up, you put your makeup on, you get dressed, anticipating that you're going to have a good day. And I love that because, you know, what we prepare for, we draw to us.
That's so true. It's so funny that you brought up Grandma, because my grandma used to say, now, honey, today could be the most important day of your life. You need to be ready.
That's so good. I love that.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
And you wonder where they got that wisdom. Well, maybe when we're 100, we'll have it too.
Yes. Oh, I hope it's sooner. But, you know, it's the half glass empty or the half glass full.
It's a choice.
It's a choice, yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I guess what I would like to kind of summarize, what advice would you have for the widows that are joining us today?
I'm a life coach. So the foundation of everybody's life either makes us or breaks us. The storms of life will come, and they'll keep coming. You know, once you just get through one crisis, there's another one brewing out there, unfortunately.
On the horizon.
But that's what makes us strong. That's what brings us confidence if we recognize there's a purpose for my life. And God brought me here to fulfill that purpose. And the more I take time to be available for the divine setups that He brings us. Because, you know, when I think over my life and the difficulties that I've had and the grief that I went through and overcame, got through the other side after my husband passed away.
That's such a natural segue, because I absolutely love your book, which is Divine Setups, Coincidence or Destiny. And you can see, I've earmarked so many places.
And it's the theme of my life, divine setups. I have always believed that ever since I was a young teenager, that God had a plan and a purpose for my life. Yeah. And it's not just one destiny.
Right.
It keeps evolving, and it keeps getting broader and broader.
It's that journey.
Yes.
It's along the journey.
So, you know, my advice to women is don't quit.
Right.
Don't believe even that your best days are behind you.
Right.
There's always more. And sometimes the darkest part of the night is just before the dawn.
Right. You know, it's amazing because people often ask me, oh, you're just always so bubbly or so, you know, this or that. And I said, well, I just refuse to grow up.
There you go.
Because life is what you make it to a certain degree.
True.
I mean, yes, we all have to deal with, you know, obstacles and barriers, but we get through it. And that makes us who we are.
You know, you can either have faith or you can have fear. And they're very much the same. If you are filled with fear, you're going to draw those things to you that fear would bring. If you have faith that God loves you and He's going to make a way, even though you can't see it,
Right.
that way is going to be brought to you. And it's just, we're a lot older, a lot wiser.
Well, we hope so.
I look in my rear view mirror and I think, thank you, God, for everything you've brought me through. And it's given me such hope that I love to mentor young women because I've got so much hope for them. No matter what they go through, there's going to be the sun rising in the morning.
Every day.
Every
Every day is different. Every sunrise, and it's always fascinated me. Every sunrise, every sunset is different than the one before, and before it, and before it,
It's
and
so
those
true.
to come.
It's so true. You know, it's interesting. There was a woman whose husband passed away, and he was a beautiful artist. And it's incredible, Minnie, because he told her, tomorrow, you're going to see, because God told me He's going to let me help paint the sunset. And he passed away that night.
Oh, my.
And the next day, she said she saw the most beautiful sunset. And she knew, my husband is okay. He's on the other side waiting for me. And there's more to my life here.
Kathleen, that's a beautiful story. And I encourage all of you to just read through the beautiful stories in here. And Kathleen, I just can't thank you enough for joining us today and bringing encouragement to others.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute joy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today here at Widow's World in our segment on Widow's Talk. We hope that you'll join us again or visit us at www.widowsworld.com or follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and we hope we see you soon. Please join us. Thank you.